One thing that I wanted to kind of start with on talking about today that I've been struggling with is procrastination. And I'm hoping, or I'm almost certain, a majority of you out there are also struggling with some form of procrastination yourself. And it's crazy because I went through this whole exercise for myself. I have a doc that I keep that has all the things that I've learned and want to apply in my life, and I kind of forgot all about it. And so I've really been running into an issue on procrastinating with paying some property tax on some properties that I have over, actually, 2 states, over in Illinois and in Alabama. And I'm always just like, no, I'll do it later and all this. And I was going through trying to figure out what is the reason behind the procrastination. Why do I not just attack these things? And I'm a big proponent of any time I work with anyone, with coaching or even negotiation, anything like that, I always want to get to the root. So I'm hoping a lot of you can relate when you're thinking about procrastination and not being able to do stuff, of what is the real root, like what is going on. So when I started to go through mine, I was thinking, okay, I don't want to deal with these properties, the taxes on these properties that I was getting notice of. Okay, so I started asking myself, what was the trigger, and what do I normally do when this thing comes up? So when I get notices or whatever, I'm like, okay, I'm going to pay it, but then I don't know the website. To be honest, I don't remember all the addresses. I'm going to have to go in my documents, find the address, find how to do the payments, and as soon as I start to think about all the things that I have to do, my prefrontal cortex that does all your thinking, all the logical, it actually goes offline for me. And what happens is your amygdala, the other part of your brain, the prehistoric stuff, that kind of deals with the fight, flight, or freeze. And what my brain would do is get into that freeze of like, I don't know how to solve it. I don't know how to fix it because I'm a big fixer. And because I don't know what the solution is, I just am like the goat where when you scare it, it just falls on its side. And that's what was happening to me whenever I dealt with something that I didn't know what all the steps were or how to be perfect or all these things. So I would just kind of air out. And I noticed that was my pattern. You know, whenever something came up and I didn't know how to solve it, then I would get, paralyzed, and then I would just forget it because it's easier than dealing with the uncertainty, the unknowns. So once I started to write it out and just recognize with almost all this mental stuff, the first step in anything is awareness. Awareness is like showing up to the starting line of a race. Like that's the first thing you have to do. You have to come to the starting line. And awareness is just recognizing what is going on, but that's not actually completing the race and getting to the finish line, right? The putting in the work and dealing with the stuff, like that's the actual run, and then you get to the finish line of, okay, now I don't have this behavioral pattern anymore, because that's what we're really trying to break with procrastination. So awareness of noticing what is going on, and then I started to write it out, okay? So when I feel frustrated or when I feel overwhelmed, like what is it that I do? And I recognize whenever I get these notices or have to pay property taxes, in this example, there's many other areas I procrastinate, but what I would do is then I'd start thinking, right? I have to do this, I have to do, and it gets so overwhelming that then I would air out, and the result would be that I don't do anything. So trigger is uncertainty, unknown. My behavior was to start to overthink, and the result is then I don't do anything. So think about something in your life that you're procrastinating or whatever, and try to bring some awareness. Try to get to that starting line. Try to figure out what it is that's going on, because without that awareness, there's no way for you to actually run the race and finish and change your behavioral pattern. So think, what is it that's going on? And once you realize what that is, now you can start doing something. You can start putting in the work. And so for me, once I recognized this, I started to write out, okay, what short-term results? Obviously, if I don't pay, then I have to pay, a late fee on it, which I wasn't too worried about. But then when I started, okay, that instant result is totally different than the long-term result. The long-term result of me not doing this is, okay, I could actually lose my properties, and that's insane to lose my properties just for procrastination. So I realized I didn't want to do that. So then I started to come up with, okay, what's a plan of attack? And I started to write out, okay, next time I get a notice or next time I have free time, I'm going to do this. And when I feel the overwhelm of I don't know what to do or I'm going to have to do all this tedious stuff, I welcomed it. Okay, I know this is coming, and I had a plan of how am I going to persevere. When this happens, I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to keep marching. I was expecting the struggles. I was expecting the difficult things. And by doing that, when it came, it wasn't like getting punched in the face and not totally expecting it. Like I knew it was going to come. Oh, here's that fear. Here's the unknown. Here's this. I know how to deal with this. This is what I'm going to do. So hopefully that helps. And I'm telling you, this is what I kind of came up with. But the funny thing is after I mapped this out and got all this, I reviewed my notes, and I was telling you that I keep on all these things that I'm practicing on myself and trying to develop. And I realized I've wrote a whole thing about procrastination before, which is very similar to the example that I just went through. So it's funny how in life we get to relearn the same things over and over and over again.